praise. I've got some praise.
Put a praise on
I've got some praise.
yeah.
Praise.
Oh, yeah.
Even in the midnight hour, when my tears are flowing down my face, I've got some praise.
I got some praise.
I've got some praise.
Do you have some praise?
I've got some praise. Just don't understand why it has to be like this. I've got some praise. I've got some praise.
Got some praise.
I've got some praise. Anybody have any praise?
Anybody have any praise?
Anybody have any praise? Can you just lift up your praise? Now, lift up your praise right now. Lift up your praise right now.
Wow. Turn to somebody and say, what was that? Or you might say, what is this that I'm feeling? It's kind of like for the last hour, we've been sipping on a nice, rich wine. And now we got a little high. It's called the new wine of spirit. I wouldn't necessarily believe in, worship, or serve, or contemplate a God I couldn't feel. And I really wouldn't want to feel a God that I couldn't somehow serve, or accommodate, or facilitate, or recognize. I am a theist. Atheist, if you're trying to describe God as some traditional dude in the sky with a long white beard who looks a little bit like Einstein and Yoda. Or a God that's some particular color or ethnicity or nationality, or that is religious and who has opinions and evaluates whether you're worthy of its, his, hers, or their love. After 63 years on the planet, most of those years serving God and preaching God and being very involved in religion, I've now finally found some element of freedom from those traditions, the things that have been traded down and handed down that don't work anymore. That becomes increasingly irrelevant, to which I personally cannot relate. That doesn't mean I throw the baby out with the bathwater, whatever that means to you. But it is expanding and extending myself and my soul beyond some fixed posture, excuse me, or mentality. My subject today is freedom is not for cowards, based on the theme for the month, which is letting go. And I heard on Super Soul Sunday a lady named Cheryl Strayed that Oprah was interviewing, and she wrote a book called Brave Enough. And while listening to what little bit of it I heard, I realized that I was brave and or free enough to break my own heart. Are you free enough or brave enough to break your own heart? That seems like a very irresponsible statement. But I'm letting go of something. In a few days, I'm going to fly to Harvard University to sign away 50 years, the first 50 years of my life's ministerial work to the Divinity School archives. And I'll be, all my writings, all my papers, all my books, all of my intellectuals, all my video collection of 35 years of pastoring one church. And all the Azusa videos. And I'm letting go of a particular idea that used to have of myself that isn't true anymore. It isn't relevant. I haven't forgotten it. It just doesn't have the same placement in my life. And it's mixed emotions because it's an honor, because I'll be with Ralph Waldo Emerson and Oliver Wendell Holmes and Paul Tillich and some of the great, but all those folks are dead. And the problem is I ain't dead yet. And yet part of me is dead or dying. And it's like putting all of and most of that stuff are in plastic cases. And I've spent probably $30,000 storing it the last 12 years. And they've been auto-drafting that out of my account. And now I'm taking it out of those boxes. I've only been there 2 or 3 times, and that because my wife insisted that I go and actually look at it as if opening up a coffin and looking at a corpse of my past life. And I refused to do that almost 10 years. And I've only done it a few times now, but I've been paying for those memories. And maybe something in me was hoping that it would resurrect in some way or place, and maybe something will that isn't what was. I don't know. But freedom, and I am free from a certain expectation of myself. I am free from some of your expectations of myself. My parents, my dad made his transition or died. We don't like to use that term. It's a harsh word to use. You still use it here a lot, but we say transitioned. Daddy died a year ago last month. And my mom just had brought to the house this week a grave marker that they had prepared before they decided to cremate. So it showed up. And it's in their yard. And when I went out there yesterday just to check on my mom, she's 86, it was in the front of the yard, and it says, my dad, born October 29th, was the same day my daughter was born, 1926. And then mom's name and her being born November 3rd, 1929. And it just hit me for a while. And she was standing in the garage with a little cane. She has some knee issues. And she had just gotten out of the bed to prepare me some greens and ham hocks, something I didn't need, but when I eat, letting it go. When I eat collard greens, or as I call them, colored greens, and ham hocks, it's not just eating the greens and the ham hocks. My mom's there, my grandmother's there, my godmother's there, my 97-year-old aunt, my dad is there, his dad, his mom. The smell of collard greens and neck bones or fried chicken and all the stuff. Everybody comes into the kitchen. When I go in there to cook, they all show up. I can hear my grandmother's voice or my aunt's voice or my godmother. She was 90. We lost her a year ago, January. I can hear them saying, just put a little pinch of that, baby. Just a little bit of that. Go in there. No, put a little bit more. That's too much sugar, sweetheart. No. Clean, and my aunt would always say, clean as you go. That's how you stay. She said, the first thing you do when you go to the kitchen is run your dishwater, baby. And then clean. She started rubbing, clean as you go. Just keep it clean. She had these great big monstrous dentures that I used to love, I'd hear them clapping, and I'd hear her voice, and all those. And so when I get a little lonely, I go into the kitchen, and I don't know about letting that go, but freedom is somehow detaching yourself from anything that holds or held you in bondage, and yet not denying its at one point efficacy in your life. It had some reason for being there. But you detach yourself, you unlock the chain. I have a navel, as all of you do, and that reminds us of the umbilical cord that connected us to our mothers. It's still there. Some people have slightly deformed navels, or some are less obvious because the stomach around it is so big you can't even see it, but we all have them. They're in there somewhere, and they are a reminder that we came from someone and somewhere. How do you get free from that? There is no umbilical cord on me, but I'm very attached to my mom. So I'm standing there looking at that, and I was overcome with tears. And so I went over and hugged my mom. And she said, baby, it's okay. He's not really gone. He's still here. I wasn't really concerned about Daddy at the time. I thought you fixing to go, Mama. You 86, you gonna be gone in a little bit. So I was holding my mom, pushing her soft skin against my face and mine against hers, and feeling her little flabby shoulders and arms, and holding her, and all the things you do with people you love. Sometimes you remember that when they're gone and wish you had have done it more. Talk to me, somebody. As much as they irritate you at times, and if it's not one thing, it's your mother. But you miss them when they're gone. You miss their essence. And you miss the access you had to them. I call her every day. I've done that for almost 40 years, at least 38 or so. Every single day, I don't know, I habitually, as soon as I get in the car, I always call her in the car when I don't have as much time. Because she will talk for days and days. And at this time, she's asking the same questions over and over again, and she's kind of at that stage. But you think about letting go. What is freedom? Being awake or awakened to our lives on a daily basis is a form of freedom. Being awake to or awakened to. Sometimes you have to be awakened after you wake up. When you wake up in the morning, then you need to be awakened again. There's a certain freedom because we like to live some aspects of our life in denial. Freedom, as defined in some dictionaries, means to be not under the control or in the power of another. Not under the control or in the power of another. Able to act, be, or do as you wish. Who is that? Do you know anybody like that? Not under the control or the power, or I would say the influence of another. All of us are somehow affected. There's something controlling or influencing or manipulating who you are and or who you aren't, and it's just a memory. It's something you heard in the second grade or in kindergarten or at somebody's birthday party. And it's like a recorded message that's in your head, and you keep on hearing that message. Whether that was a negative or a positive, supportive or demeaning message, you keep on hearing it, and you've forgotten that you hear it and still obey. What is this freedom? How do we access it? Freedom is supposed to be the power or the right, if you will, to act or speak or think as you want, without hindrance and without restraint. Do you know anybody like that? Whether it's the Pope, the President, Jesus, or your mama and them. Who do you know that is literally free, or is freedom just a kind of imaginary fantasy? When are you free? How are you free? Are you free? And if you are, why is that important to you? How has it added to the quality of your life? Is there any way to break away from freedom? Do you know anybody who's done that? How does it feel? Scriptures record God as saying in the Hebrew Bible, as God is saying to Adam, you are free to eat from any tree or truth in the garden except one. The one that has dual alliances or allegiances to good and evil, or God and evil, or devil, or good as evil. You are free to eat from any of the trees except one. Well, actually, they were free to eat from that one too, because they did, according to the narrative. You are free to eat from any tree, but I forbid you from eating from, or I suggest to you, or command you, or admonish you not to eat from the very one. Now, had that last part not been spoken, they might not have been so interested in the other tree. Since you can assume there may have been as many as thousands of trees or truths out there. But when you say, don't eat from this particular one, it makes that particular one particularly interesting. It has a strange enamoration or attraction to you simply because they said don't do it. Talk to me, somebody. All the things our parents and grandparents and godparents suggest we not do makes that not do very attractive, whether that's sex or drugs or beer or things they say don't touch, or skipping school or cheating or telling a lie or staying out too late or going out with the wrong people or hanging out with what they call the wrong people. Everything they told you not to do, you did it or were interested in doing it. And even if you didn't do it, a lot of those things I didn't do, and I'm 63 and still want to do them. Barbara said it ain't too late. That's the problem. It ain't too late. See? How do we get now? Am I free from doing it, or free from wanting to do it, or thinking about doing, or being curious? I was with Dr. Wolf earlier this week, and I like to go out and hang with him sometime. We sit and talk for 2 or 3 hours, and he offered me a beer. I don't drink beer, not because I don't drink beer. I just was taught not to. And we had, and Martin's dad is sitting right there. He was with us, and we had a beer, and I actually enjoyed it. It was particularly interesting to me because I was told not to drink it. Now, it actually tasted good. The first time I tasted a beer, my dad gave it to us, all his 6 children. He sat us all down, the girls included, and said, okay, he had bought a, what do you call it, a 6-pack. That's Reverend David Smith over there.
I just guessed.
Oh, you guessed. His daddy is a bishop in the Church of God in Christ, which makes him a son of a bishop. Oh, Lord. My daddy brought it to us, and I tasted it, and I said, oh, my God, it's yucky, horrible. It's bitter. It needs salt, Tabasco, sugar. It needs spice. It needs something in it. I was stunned by how terrible, and I got nauseous, actually. Never tasted it again. But had this built-up mentality. Now, why is it important to me? Because I am actually free to have a beer if I want one. All you holiness folks on watching me on, like, yeah, I had a beer last week. And what you gonna do about it? That meant nothing to Dr. Wolf. It meant nothing to Mr. Lavenhart. It meant something to me only because it was forbidden fruit. And we just laughed and talked, and they kept on. In about 10 minutes, I was half sleepy. I had to get up and move. I started to say, give me some coffee now, because I wasn't used to it in my system. But for me, at this stage and place in my life, getting past the blockages that I created and assumed that they were evil. I'm not saying that everybody should become alcoholics. You know the dangers of that. But for me to have a glass of wine, for me to have a can, for me to be around people who do and feel comfortable is a huge freedom for me. And my cowardly aspect had to die. That I'm going to sign away the things from which I received most of my identity, most of my life, is closing a certain chapter in my life, and I have mixed emotions about it. Because I had to be open to the element of surprise, and that's what life is. One of the things Trista brought out yesterday is being open to the element of surprise. Whether that's marriage, ministry, or the normal manipulations of life, are you open to the predictable unpredictables? You can predict or predicate that there are going to be unpredictables, things that you don't anticipate or expect, that are going to show up in your life. Regardless of how perfect you would like your life to be or how perfect you imagine it to be, there are the unpredictables. Everybody say that. There are the unpredictables. You got to be open to the element of surprise, and the whole idea of giving myself permission to break my own heart by stepping beyond what I thought was my heart and relinquishing that to someone or something else and still finding a meaningful identity outside of that. Who are you outside of someone else's expectations of you? Who are you outside of your expectations of you? And why do you have those expectations? If you're cowardly, the scripture says God has not given us, 1 Timothy, I think it is 2 Timothy 1:7, God has not given us a spirit of fear. He didn't use the word phobia in the Greek translation. He used the word delios, which means cowardice or timidity or faithlessness. God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power, love, and sound mind, the King James Version, but the better translation means spiritual discipline. God has not given us a spirit, the energy of timidity. Every one of us, including the one speaking, standing on the edge or the brink of some powerful decision that could dramatically, if not at least significantly, alter how you experience yourself in this life. Because life starts and stops with how you experience you, not how your mom and them and your daddy and them and your brothers and your sisters and your lovers and your... It's not how all of they experience you, but how do you experience you? As I often ask you, what do you believe about you? Not just what do you believe, but what do you believe about you, and why do you believe that about you, and how do those beliefs about you add to or subtract from the quality of your life? Where does the real you stand up, and how? And what rituals do you need to go through to free your own self, part of which is possibly breaking your own heart? Don't we get offended when somebody breaks our heart? And nobody can really do that but somebody you love. Nobody can hurt you or harm you or even hate you like somebody you love or who loves you. Turn to somebody and say, ouch, do you love me? Oh my God. We all like to talk about love. I like the word compassion and sensitivity because love is a little clumsy. It can be a little cheesy, a little chintzy, a little sloppy, a little frayed. It can mess you up. It's kind of like a disease. It's an incurable disease. All you can do is treat it. The scripture says love is patient. I say love is a patient in need of health care. Love needs treatment. Turn to somebody and say, your love needs a little treatment. You got any medication for love? Is there a medication for this disease or this illness, even for your own children? Madge wanted to go to a concert down at Brady last night, and of course, she's only 19, but she at least tells me. They done got past asking you. They tell you things. And of course, I assumed she was going with friends, and then when I found out that she wasn't going with friends, I said, whoa. It's way away from where we live. Her car was totaled, so she's just driving. We just have the one car now. She was on our way downtown, and I said, I don't know, baby. Maybe I should take you. But Daddy, I'm 19. I'm okay. What if I was away in college? So you ain't away in college. She always keeps bringing that up. Well, if I was in college, you are in college, but you ain't away in college. Any of you have teenagers, you can understand why some animals eat their young. So I had to connect with them. I said, oh no, I'll take you down there, sweetheart, and I'll drop you right out. And then we found out there was a long line. I forgot who the artist was. There was a long line to get in, so I dropped her off right in front, and Walter went back and picked her up afterward. But it was that little fraction of tension there that she said, nothing's going to happen to me. My mom and dad were not real careful about us. They let us go. They weren't worried. And she's my aunt. I said, I don't care how old you are. When you're my age, you're still going to be my baby girl. And she said, you're right, Dad. Thank you for caring. I'm glad I have friends whose parents don't even care. Wake up call. Sometimes caring is clumsy, but caring cares. And caring is important. And you should be happy that somebody cares about you. It's not ruling and controlling. I wasn't controlling her, but I said, I can't control you. I'm realizing that my wife and I both are realizing our kids are not at the age that we can control. You know, you can't control anybody anyway. You can't already control yourself. All you can do is care about yourself. Talk to me, somebody. You feel out of control. Is that frightening? So when I was hugging Mama, I was thinking, okay, this is, you know, I don't know how much longer I'm going to have you, so I want to hug you while I do. And when you repeat yourself, that's cool. And when I have to tell you the same thing over and over again, that's all right. And when I have to ask you, where are you, and where you're going, and why are you going, and who's going with you, and who told you to go, and who said you can go, and how long are you going to be gone, stuff you used to ask us, you're going to have to deal with that, Mom. And I'm going to have to deal with it. And to know that's precious, even though it's pressure. Shake some energy around. God has not given us a spirit of fear, cowardice. Please look at me, everybody. Kick it into the next level. You're not a coward. You have a few little inhibitions, some apprehensions and some hesitations, but you are one tough cookie. Every time I realize that Mom and Dad were together 68 years, she's experienced like some kind of an amputation. Just walking with this thing on my foot because I had something removed from my foot. It has affected my walking, my mobility. I'm actually much better now. I can take this off, but the foot is swollen, so I can't put a shoe on it. I can walk. Yesterday was the first time I walked through the house completely without the cane or the crutch or the scooter or this boot. I had to walk a little slower. It hurt, but I'm getting my walking back because I've had surgery on my foot. Some of you have had surgery on your life. You've had some type of treatment. You're in treatment now. It's called therapy because of this sexually transmitted disease that we call life. And it's an incurable disease. And it's terminal because we all go through the transition we call death, but it's not untreatable. You are in treatment, and you need to be in treatment. This is group therapy. Something's wrong with you. No, I'm kidding. Wrap your arms around yourself. And just say with me, I got this. I am this. And I accept the courage. Come on, I accept the courage to, if necessary, break my own heart and start all over again, to love me differently and to love differently. I am love. Hug you, squeeze you, pinch you. Are you here? Giving up somebody, giving up something, even a husband or a wife or a father, as I did, and a godfather and a grandfather and a godmother. When you get 63, you never know what the next call is going to be. Who just left us? Darrell Coley went. He was only 60. I was at his funeral or his memorial service in LA last weekend. And really, when I go to Harvard this week, I'm going to be at my own funeral, sort of. I'm going to sign the death certificate, which gives them legal access to all I spent my life dreaming and building and creating and producing. I still own the intellectual rights, as will my heirs. But they're going to put it away in a library, and they showed me this big space where they put all of these things, and they digitize it, which I wouldn't have been able to afford to do anyway. But I guess that's the final nailing, if that term is appropriate, of the coffin shut. And saying, okay, that is a past life. It was a wonderful life. Very focused, very ambitious or aim-bitious. But it's gone. That part of it. And how I evaluated and valued myself in that space. So when I come back next Sunday, because I speak here again next Sunday, I'm not sure who will show up. But he won't be wearing the same wardrobe emotionally. And he'll have only part of the identity he once had, which only makes space for my next identification. Are you ready for your next identification? Are you ready for your next self? Wave the last one goodbye. That may be just yesterday's one. Wave it goodbye. Come on, wave that last one goodbye. Say, I loved you. You worked good enough. You did your thing. Now I'm ready to be my next self. I'm ready to go my next mile. I'm ready to experience my next expression. And I think it's going to be good. Turn to somebody and say, I got a feeling that everything's going to be all right. Say it. Your best and next is yet to come. I love you all. Thank you for your time.
Let's all stand together. You're my brother, you're my sister. So take me by the hand. Together we will.
We are your church, and we are proud to be your church, or at least a church that's having a positive impact on your life. I am personally blessed to be your minister, or at least a minister who you're allowing to speak into your life. I hope you'll support our ministry and share your love beyond belief by texting LOVEBB to 41444 or go to our website. But you can just text LOVEBB to 41444 and make your gift. It's wonderful. Thank you. Be blessed and be a blessing.